Judge says Donald Trump won't give own closing argument at civil fraud trial after disputing rules. Associated Press Finance. Donald Trump won't make his own closing argument after all in his New York civil business fraud trial after his lawyers objected to the judge's insistence that the former president stick to relevant matters and not deliver a campaign speech. Judge Arthur Engoron nixed Trump's unusual plan on Wednesday, a day ahead of closing arguments. The judge had initially indicated he was open to the idea, saying he'd let Trump speak if he agreed to abide by rules that apply to attorneys' closing argument. Below are your comments. Those are the rules that all attorneys are required to follow for closing statements, so it's not Lee K. the judge was picking on him. His attorneys knew he wouldn't follow the rules, and would probably end up with contempt of court charges if they let him give the closing argument. Trump attorney Christopher Kise responded that those limitations were unfair and said Trump could not agree to them. How are they unfair? The case is about his business, not his political aspirations. It's the closing arguments, so it's about recapping your case, what your point is and why the ruling. There is nothing ambiguous about the judge's order. The closing argument would have to stick to the relevant matters. It would have to be a closing argument, period. Not a rant, not a campaign speech, not a bunch of insults, not "but what about Hunter's laptop?" There's nothing ambiguous there. Trump attorney Christopher Kise responded that those limitations were unfair and said Trump could not agree to them. Obvious, he and the Hobbit fail to recognize there are rules that address how closing arguments may proceed. Follow the rules, cupcake, or you don't get to speak. Following the rules. Next news. Ex-prosecutor surprised by jarring aspect to Trump court appearance. HuffPost. Glenn Kirshner pointed out a key difference with the former president. Below are your comments. The thing that is most baffling to me is that we are even having a argument about whether or not a president is above the law and can do whatever they want without any consequences. Saying that one man can do whatever they want without any legal consequences just because that man is. What's the moral expectation of the Oval Office? Life has many storms. In all actuality, life is like a big roller coaster full of many twists and turns. One of the greatest attributes to any story is to learn life's valuable lesson. The fundamental expectation of representing the people of the unit. We already watched the equally criminal McConnell set it up so that GOP senators didn't have to look at evidence or even hear charges, aka too late to impeach, which is not an exoneration and obviously could never work in a real courtroom with real criminal charges. 7 GOP senators ignored McConnell. There are many words and expressions to describe yesterday's hearing that took place before the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. One other that deserves honorable mention would be legal malpractice. I watched Trump's usual telling of the lies performance after his court appearance yesterday, and T.S.1 was notably different. Gone was the usual Trumpian insolence and false bravado he displays on the campaign trail. In their stead, he seemed to be performing like a well-trained parrot on an U. Next news. Should Trump be immune from criminal prosecution? What Americans said in a new poll. Miami Herald. Trump's legal team has argued that a former president cannot be prosecuted for official actions on RTAKEN while he was president. Below are your comments. Can someone tell me just what official duties it is of any president to try and stop a lawful transfer of power? This seems to be the argument that Trump's lawyers are trying to make. That is as a president's official duty to stop a lawful transfer of power and to overrule the public's wishes. Confi. I have to wonder about the 36% that think the president should be immune. Would they want it for Biden or Hillary? In this case, he wasn't acting in his official duties because a sitting president should not be able, in the way Trump did, to affect the outcome of their own election. No one should be immune from any form of accountability for their actions, especially criminal offenses and activity. If the highest official in this land cannot be held accountable for what they do, then we do not have a society of laws to which everyone is held accountable to. Plain and simple. The Founding Fathers had one fear, and that is one person with too much power. The whole revolution was about the power of the king. They overthrew the king, and the last thing any of the originals wanted was someone with absolute power. Impeachment is solely a political process and not a criminal process. One has absolutely nothing to do with another. There is no criminal penalty from impeachment, only removal from office at worst. Next news. Trump lawyer on unhinged immunity defense. He didn't bleep anyone. The Daily Beast. Reuters. Bing Guan. Trump attorney Alina Habba defended a bizarre argument about presidential immunity to Fox News host Sean Hannity by assuring viewers that the former president didn't bleep anyone. Habba appeared on Fox after Trump's lawyers presented their case for immunity in federal appeals court in Washington, D.C., on Tuesday. When asked if presidential immunity would apply if Trump ordered SEAL Team 6 to bleep a political rival, another of Trump's attorneys, John Sauer, argued that Trump. Below are your comments. She is correct, he didn't pull the trigger, however, he is responsible for all the deaths that occur. Read on Jan. If he didn't organize the group, speaking to and knowingly inciting them, none of them would have died. The worst thing is Sir Trump has no remorse for his actions ever. He is not a. This is a lawyer? Supposedly the best someone else's money can buy? It must be really true then that no decent lawyer would defend him. Attorney Habba. No, Trump did not bleep anybody. Yes, he incited an insurrection. He has been charged with that. The only thing which is hypothetical is your assumption that you will get paid for defending him. I really don't buy that Ivana fell down the stairs. Her grave holds secrets. You would think a billionaire could afford a competent lawyer. Next news. CNN reporter describes Trump's demeanor during his presidential immunity hearing. CNN's Evan Perez discusses what he noticed about former President Trump's demeanor during an appeals hearing. Trump's attorneys argued that U.S. presidents should be immune from prosecution for official acts if they are not impeached and convicted by Congress. Below are your comments. I disagree with his lawyers. Even a past president has no immunity. He still has Secret Service protection, so no immunity, but more importantly, no one is above the law. Or we don't have good law. This was really settled back in the day when Ford pardoned Nixon. It was established that Nixon was criminally liable and that to keep him out of the slam he would need a pardon. Ford pardoned him. Trump's lawyers were asked by appeals court judge if a president put out a contract bleep on a political opponent, would they have immunity from prosecution? Trump's lawyer answers yes. Does anyone else see how far off the rails not only this defense is but how asinine the ones who are trying to are? Trump sat staring at the judges thinking if he scowled at them they'd be afraid of him. I hate to tell him but they're not afraid of him. The only people afraid of him are Republicans. Democrats aren't, just Republicans. Shows who's got the smarts in the government. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Next news. Trump speaks out after appeals court hearing on immunity claim. CBS News videos. Former President Donald Trump spoke to the press after attending the federal appeals court hearing in Washington, D.C., on his claims of presidential immunity. He said his team made a great argument. Following his remarks, CBS News legal contributor Jessica Vinson looks at the legal issues and strategy behind this case. Below are your comments. At his second impeachment, Trump's legal team argued that the Senate didn't have to convict him because if he really committed a crime, he could always be prosecuted after he leaves office. I saw the clip of one of his lawyers saying that this isn't fake news, but then again, in today's America, Donald Trump declined to sign a Red Scare-era loyalty oath promising not to advocate for the overthrow of the U.S. government, a decades-old tradition included in the paperwork required to have his name included on the ballot in Illinois. If the Supreme Court rules Trump had immunity from prosecution while he was president, it would set a legal precedent that all current and future presidents cannot be charged with crimes they commit while in office. Not insider stock trading. Not bleep. Next news. Trump hints at VP pick during Fox News town hall. The Hill. Former President Trump on Wednesday suggested he knows who's in the running as his vice presidential pick should he win the GOP nomination. Trump attended a Fox News town hall in Iowa, where anchor Martha MacCallum asked who would be in contention to join him on the Republican ticket. Well, I can't tell you that. Below are your comments. Out of curiosity, I watched much of this town hall. No matter what the question is, Trump basically regurgitates the same responses over and over. I created the greatest economy in history. We were energy independent during my presidency. I created the greatest border in our history. Their WOU. That potential VP during the interview. Can you tell me what happened to the last guy? Question mark. I wonder if they brought up these points during the Fox debate? Last year Hannity and Fox News had to pay the rich family $10 million for saying that Hillary Clinton was behind the bleep of their son Seth. Then, Fox settled a defamation lawsuit filed by Venezuelan businessman Majid Khalil Fo. Next news. Judge asks if a president can order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a rival. Hear Trump's lawyer respond. CNN. Former President Donald Trump is in Washington, D.C., for a U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals hearing after a lower court ruling rejected his claims of immunity in special counsel Jack Smith's 2020 election subversion case. Trump is seeking to have the federal charges against him dismissed. Below are your comments. That argument spectacularly explodes right in front of Trump's face. He is basically asking for or giving Biden full lawful immunity to take out Trump, his family, his supporters, and anyone else as long as the sitting president does it as a presidential action. And after that action has been completed. So Trump's attorneys are arguing that if a president is impeached and convicted by the Senate, then he can be criminally prosecuted, and also that if a president is impeached and not convicted by the Senate, then double jeopardy attaches and the president cannot be criminally. More of TH. Next news. The newly unsealed Jeffrey Epstein documents have Donald Trump's name all over them. He had been secretly disguised as Doe 174. Business Insider. Former President Donald Trump may have fought to keep his name redacted in court documents before a judge ordered to have it unsealed. Below are your comments. No mention of mushrooms? Epstein's home was 1.5 miles from Mar-a-Lago. Bill Clinton is not a defense for Donald Trump's well-documented association with Epstein. Clinton's name could appear on these docs thousands, millions of times, and it doesn't change anything about Donnie. If I can't get out of a parking ticket by naming other bad parkers, then Trump can't PR. Remember when Trump sued to keep his taxes private? Only to learn he lied on his taxes. Remember when Trump sued to keep his college transcripts private? probably because he lied about graduating top of his class. Now Trump sues to keep his name redacted from his connection to Epstein. Think we know? Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumbs up.